let me stop sharing here the screen and we can start with the introductions. So Roshbash, welcome. Kun bikhair hatin. Thank you all for taking some time from your day to join us for Zahra Institute's first student panel. And I'm Shahrani, Outreach Coordinator for the Institute. And for those joining us for the first time, Zahra Institute is a graduate institution offering MA and certificate programs in Kurdish Studies and Critical Muslim Studies. We also offer beginning to advanced level Kurmanji and Sorani Kurdish language classes. So among other things, I manage the online speaker series that brings together Kurdish scholars, artists, students from all around the Kurdish-speaking world. Have you had a chance to check out some of the amazing lectures by our previous guest speakers? Let's see some reactions. Well, let's see. If not, no worries. Come join us for our fall speaker series beginning on Wednesday, September 3rd at 12 p.m. Central Time. And among the incredible topics we have lined up for the upcoming semester are Kurdish music, Kurdish madrasa culture, and our very exciting first art panel in October. And you can check out our speaker series program flyer on the screen. And I think we'll also be dropping that in the chat box. As always, our speaker series events are open to the public on Zoom. And this year, we just ask everyone to please register for our Zoom events. All right. So the question is, how many of you are ready to start the academic year? That's starting quite soon. Yeah, it's a little bit too soon, but I'm excited. How about you guys?
I'm excited.
All right.
Excited.
So to kick off this year of events, we're doing something special. We want to spotlight and celebrate our incredible students, our MA and language students, in this student panel we're calling Why Kurdish Studies. We thought this would be a great opportunity for our community to get to know some of our amazing students and hear about their inspiring journeys, motivations, and experiences. And today joining us are two MA students from our Kurdish Studies program, Marwan Sheikho and Sarhat Hadi. And also with us are two language students from our Kurdish Language Institute, Ginger Stevens and Nancy Mancias. So following a brief round of introductions, I'll ask the panelists questions set by members of our community. And after that, I'll invite the audience to join us live with their questions. I'll start by asking our panelists to briefly introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Nancy.
Rojbash. My name is Nancy Mancias. I live in Southern California. I am a PhD student at the California Institute of Integral Studies. I am an academic administrator, and I am going into my second semester of Sorani, Kurdish Sorani, with Zahra Institute, and it's great to be here.
Thank you. Well, would you like to go next, Marwan?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everybody. My name is Marwan Sheikho, and I'm currently completing my master's studies in a master's degree in Kurdish Studies at the Zahra Institute. And so basically my focus is specifically on the intersection of poetry and linguistics and the role of the poets and the Kurdish poets in terms of shaping the Kurdish identity and the Kurdish culture over the last centuries. And yes, I'm so excited to share more experiences with you, and I'm so excited to hear more experiences from the panelists too. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Ginger, how about you?
Mahaba, everyone. My name is Ginger Stevens, and my day job is I work as a project manager at DigiCert, which is in internet security. In my free time, I'm actually on the executive board of the Kurdish Alliance of North America, which is called KANA. And I first got involved in Kurdish studies in 2019 after ISIS fell, when I started engaging to help the Yazidi community. And I made my first trip to Kurdistan in 2022. And I'm really hoping that I'll be able to make my fourth trip this fall. And I have always found that I learn a lot about Kurdish history and culture when I travel, whether it's to Nashville to visit my Kurdish friends there. But part of the problem I have when I go to Kurdistan is that I can't speak the language. And that is one of the reasons that I was so happy to find Zahra Institute to help me kind of bridge that gap so I can learn how to go shopping and talk to taxi drivers on my own. So I am so glad to be here with you all today.
Thank you. And that leaves you, Sarha.
Hello everyone, Slav, Rojbash, Shobash, because of different time of zones. I am Serhat Hadi. I'm, Zahra Institute, a master student at Zahra Institute, and also I'm a lecturer at Salahuddin University in Geography Department. And in parallel with my studying here and teaching at Salahuddin University, I also am taking an online master's degree in psychology from Liverpool John Moores University in the UK. And also I have recently published a theory of mind in psychology just 2 or 3 days ago. So it's available on Amazon. So I'm really glad to be here tonight.
تشتغل نص وقت مع شيء دراسات الكردية.
هذا جيد الواحد عندها ولد.
So now let's start with these exciting questions. By the way, I love hearing about your background and how you guys got into Kurdish studies and Kurdish languages. So the first question is, out of all the languages and all the cultures in the world, why did you choose to study Kurdish studies or Kurdish language? What do you like about it? This is a question I very much am curious to hear your responses. So let's start with you, Ginger.
Oh, well, I think I kind of mentioned it. I first got involved with Kurdish studies in 2019, and I've made several trips to Kurdistan. I've been to Rojava and to Bashur, and I always enjoy my trips, but one of the big gaps that I have is the language, and I really was so happy when I found Zahra Institute because it has helped me at least understand what is being said around me, even though sometimes I'm such a beginner, I can't always figure out what to say back. I can actually understand what they say to me or say to each other. So it is very helpful. And why I picked this out of all the languages in the world was because once I actually started to find out more about Kurdistan, I really was kind of surprised at how few Americans knew what a Kurd was or where they were located or anything about their history. And that's one of the reasons why I really became more involved in this and wanted to find out more and learn to speak the language so that I could maybe help other Americans learn more about the Kurds.
I love that. Wow. Okay. And I think Nancy.
Yep.
And since you're pressed for time, I want to ask you this question here. See.
Yeah. This is a great question, and it's one that I'm always so excited to share with everyone. So I also have traveled to Iraqi Kurdistan, more specifically Suleimania. I was invited by an NGO to visit the city. I stayed for a couple weeks. Back in 2017, meeting with women's groups, the NGOs, LGBTQ groups, academics, politicians, and really had an opportunity to learn their stories. And the stories I heard were some were horrific, and some were positive. The stories were just they were of different backgrounds. So I took it upon myself to continue to support this NGO and to continue to travel to Sulaymaniyah. The people, the hospitality that I have experienced there is like no other. So I made it a goal to continue to tell the stories that most Americans do not hear. So I have made it my focus of my PhD, looking at the gendered experience of women in public space in Sulaymaniyah. I do have a language requirement that's part of my program, and not only that, but it just if you're going to travel to a different country and work with the locals there, it's only in our out of respect to learn the language of that culture and to better communicate instead of relying on a translator. So I've had a wonderful experience at Zahra Institute. The administrative staff, Rachel, Abraham, have been wonderful in dealing with my personal experiences. And then I've had a wonderful Momosta Sarhid has been just fantastic. I feel like my language skills have grown, although I'm still very, very in the basic learning level. But Momosta Sarhid has just provided me with some wonderful tools and resources for me to learn. And it's a huge learning curve for an American student learning Latin-based an Arabic-based Farsi language. So I'm really excited. I feel like my language has improved with the help of Momosta Sarhid. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming semester and building my language skills. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Would you guys like to add to your story, Sarhad or Marwan?
Maybe Sarhat first.
I'm really happy, to have Nancy with us, tonight. Now I'm really happy to have such a kind of student such as Nancy. She's so smart and she's really, really passionate about learning Kurdish language. And I see, her improvement in Kurdish language. And also it's not only, studying the language. He wants, to learn the language with love, with passionate. So when she came to Kurdistan, when she comes to Kurdistan, I invited her, just to come to Erbil because I'm living in Erbil. But the most interesting thing, while her case study is in Suli, that's why she she always asked me, Sarat, can you teach me, let's say, the accent of Suli while I'm in Erbil. I'm based in Erbil, and we have some, differences between both of them are belonging to Sorani dialect, but we have different, pronunciation, different style. That's why I'm always following Nancy's desire. Which kind of pronunciation she wants to pick. So I'm really, really happy. To have such a wonderful experience with Nancy and the other students in Sorani class.
Thank you, Sarhad. What about you, Marwan?
Yes,
What's your
so-
story about Kurdish studies?
Well, okay, back to your question. So why I chose Kurdish studies. So basically here I should, go back to
But sorry, Marwan. Did you ask me? To tell something related to my experience. Teaching Sorani, or just why I chose.
Why you chose Kurdish studies?
Okay, so I
Or
have
what
to.
do you like about it? I think you added, you answered the what do you like about it?
Yeah, but sorry if it's possible. I want to answer this question. This story began with this one. One day I saw an advertisement from social media, from Instagram, about MA in Kurdish studies. I was really surprised by that, because Kurdish studies is not a discipline in Iraqi Kurdistan. Yeah, you can study Kurdish history, Kurdish, language, but Kurdish history as a package is not a discipline here. So while I'm studying geography, I was studying geography and I'm teaching geography, especially human geography. It was really important to understand how land and environment shape the a nation's identity, especially for Kurds, because we have a common thing, let's say a famous phrase, it's called no friends but the mountains. So geography is deeply related with Kurdish identity. So I was just thinking, imagining what would be happen if I make my circle, wider. So I wanted to choose Kurdish studies just to understand deeply about my root and to know who am I. Because to be a Kurd, naturally is different. When you want, to study about your history, about your language, your culture, then you can see a great picture. While having such a great instructors, from Zahra Institute, while they have very knowledgeable, it made me really happy. To choose this program.
Thank you, Sarhat. And well, returning back here to you, Marwan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's all right. No, actually, it was
Sorry,
very good that
Marwan.
he has answered, actually, because I can just like shortly relate to what he has just said, actually. So on the personal level, so why I chose the Kurdish studies. So on the personal level, I can relate to what Sarhat has just said, basically, that kind of like to know myself more, my roots more, and so on. But on the academic level, basically, so here it is actually, this is my second master's, so kind of an extension of my previous master. So my previous master was more kind of general in the fields of history, politics, and sociology, basically, and I wrote my master's thesis about the development course of Kurdish language, or Kurmanji, basically in Syria and Turkey. And at some point later, like a year or a couple of years later, I found myself I am still ignorant about the Kurdish studies. So I really wanted to know more. And now my role here kind of like, and I am more kind of an excavator. I would like to excavate more, to know more about the very roots of the Kurdish studies in all aspects, whether it is history or sociology or language or so and so on. Yeah. So generally speaking, this is the kind of the general focus of mine, of course, and the purpose. And yes, it's kind of an extension, as I said. So I would like to go on with that. And well, God knows what I'm gonna do afterwards. Yeah.
Fast. Moving on to the next question here. Prospective students often want to know about classroom experience, especially for online classes. So could you describe what online classes at Zahra Institute are like? Who would like to begin?
I'll go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Nancy. Ladies first.
Well, one thing is the time difference, depending on where everyone is, and where all students are scattered all over the world. But what I find very appealing to the online classes is the one-on-one attention you get from your instructor. So the experience has been great. And you get to study from the comforts of your own home, or if you're in a cafe, but preferably in a quiet place. So I like the flexibility and the one-on-one attention that you get from an instructor.
Thank you. I think Sarhat, you wanted to say something there?
Yeah, the online class has been really great. And while I have I have more experience with online classes. What's the difference about Zahra is the classes are going online, on live. So you have to participate. You feel that you are, interactive with the classes. That's really important. It's not just recorded lessons, just, take whatever you want. Yeah, it might flexible, but when you interact with the instructor and the other students, it's going to be very helpful for the environment. yeah, it is really good. And also, I'm keeping my work and the other studying and also doing, my master's here. It's such a great opportunity to have an online with Zahra in a high level.
Thank you. And continuing on with the similar question, which is about connecting to classroom experience. How are the teachers? Are they good? Do they give students, and you answer some of this here, Nancy, do they give students a lot of personal attention? And as our first soon-to-be MA graduate in Kurdish Studies too, Marwan, I'd like to hear from you about your classroom experience with the teachers and such.
Well, to be honest, like if you talk about teachers, generally speaking, like, like based on our childhood or even schools, we know like what kind of like connection we have or relation we have with our teachers, like kind of more kind of like up, down, So, but here in Zara, like one of the positive things that I've had actually, like kind of more the level was like more kind of friend to friend connection, like still like we were kind of like keeping this kind of like the limits, of course, in terms of like sharing and imparting knowledge with one another. And this is something that I really would like to highlight it as well. And no doubt, I mean, 2 years I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning. And yeah, something that I would say, yeah.
Would you like to add to this, Ginger?
Yes, I can add to that. I took a Kurdish language class online, and as part of my degree back when I was in college, I took a lot of language classes in a classroom. And I have found that the way that Zahra Institute has the classes online is very similar to what you would find in a classroom class. The teachers are very engaged. They give you homework. They call on you. They help you to speak the language. It is very similar to that, which is very good when you're trying to learn a language because you have to practice. So for those that are wondering about doing like a language class online versus classroom, the way that the classes are done and the instructors handle classes is very close to a classroom class.
Yeah, Shahrina, can I add something?
Karamka.
Those fast. We are based in the Middle East, and in the Middle East, academic environment is shaped by culture. So it's rare to be disagree openly with the instructor. So if you say that, it's not nice, and also it's not acceptable. So while in there is totally opposite, you can have your own view and also it's really respected. And you can say, your ideas, you can share your ideas without having any intention with the instructor. And when I come back to my experience, sometimes I propose my, ideas, which is totally opposite with the instructor's idea. And it was totally opposite. That's what I'm looking for. You can feel very, very, uh, independent here. You can have your own idea and share, and it's really respected. That's one of the nicest part about the teachers here.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so now we're venturing more into a little bit controversial question having to do with AI and language learning. That's the big buzzword these days, or AI, right? So given that AI is getting better and better at translation, why should I bother to learn one of these Kurdish languages? How would you respond to this, Marwan?
Well, this is actually one of the questions that actually I was thinking of over the last years, and especially with the start of ChatGPT and the other platforms as well. So basically, I work as a translator, and this is one of my things that I'm interested in terms of like learning languages and so on. So is it replaceable? Is the translator replaceable or not? Is the language teacher replaceable or not? At some extent, it's yes and no, actually. Yeah, yes. Well, if I would like to learn, small talk expressions related to specific language, for example, for a specific purpose. Yes, But at the same time, if we talk about language, and especially even like a minority language in the region, for example, let's say Kurdish, for example, no, I mean, it's not like this actually. It's beyond that. I mean, I think Sahat will kind of like agree with me in this kind of thing in terms of like language is not only just like learning the language or learning the vocabulary or grammar and so on. So it's beyond that actually. It's kind of like we need to know like the culture, the backstory, you know, why this word is used, for example. If we come to Kurdish, for example, we have you know, kind of dozens of vocabulary actually. Like they have history. They're kind of etymologically speaking, like why we use this word, for example, what's the story behind that, and so on. So this is something I guess like if a language who is or a kind of like learner, for example, interested in this thing, would like to even like dig deeper in this context. I think no. I mean, I would say it's human teacher is better to have better than having AI tool. Yeah, of course AI tool of course is good at some point, you know, but at the same time like the human one has, I think, is better in terms of like feeling the language as well, not only learning it.
Thank you. And Nancy, it looks like you were going to say something earlier. Would you like to add?
Well, I just want to go back to what Momosasha had brought up and the difference in colloquialisms and accents between Howler and Suleimania, and I'm not sure that AI is able to capture that. I mean, we're talking about the dominant Sorani and Kurmanji, but there's some other dialects as well in Kurdistan. So there's really great cultural, local um, um, words that that you can learn from an online in-person course. Certainly within AI, you can probably get the basics of hello, how are you, good morning, goodbye. But to really capture the local language and culture, an in-person course online is not, yeah, a live online course is the best.
Thank you. Any other thoughts here? Zahra, Ginger? All right. Thank you. Okay, so this next question from our community, well, it relates to funding and resources. I think understandably, our team at Zahra Institute always get inquiries about funding. Are there merit-based scholarship or need-based grants for applicants? Would you like to answer that, Sarhan?
You know, I mean, living in a capitalist world is really, really, you know, I mean, painful. Why? Because everything is about making money and, you know, making profit. You know, so in such a kind world, having, you know, an opportunity to give scholarship, I mean, just to save you from the financial stress to cover, I mean, your study and to be focused on your study, that's really, really helpful and supportive. You know, Zahra Institute, you know, I'm studying here by scholarship, 100% scholarship, which is really makes me really happy. And when I'm feeling that I'm here, I mean, with a scholarship, I'm feeling, you know, my dignity, and also I'm feeling that, you know, still, I mean, the world exists. I mean, to give opportunity for people, especially while I mean, Zahra Institute is, you know, located in the United States of America, and the tuition fees in the States are too expensive. It might be very difficult for people outside of the States, I mean, to cover the tuition fees. But Zahra is, I mean, providing, you know, great scholarships, especially for, I mean, passionate, I mean, students. If you show motivation, if you show you're passionate, I mean, Zahra, I mean, do their best for you. So that's one of the nicest thing about Zahra. I mean, the first time when I applied and I was asking about that, and I said, okay, can I apply for the scholarship? I mean, they encouraged me and helped me a lot. I mean, to get, I mean, this scholarship, and I'm really happy for that. I've never forget about this opportunity.
Thank you. All right. So I think Sarhad, you covered you answered that question. So there are merit-based scholarships. There's also need-based grants for applicants. So, if you're interested, do apply. Okay, so next question here. Let's take a look. Okay, so we've talked about classroom experience, and you've talked about some of the advantages. Now let's talk about both of them. What are the advantages and disadvantages for classroom learning online? Would you like to answer that, Ginger?
Oh, the disadvantages?
Yeah, advantages, disadvantages, I think we cover a lot of advantages.
Yes, well, and I'll talk about disadvantages, and this is more technology driven, and then I'll hit some other stuff. Is I am in a rural area, and sometimes the internet can get, we'll say, iffy. And that means that you just drop the class. Now, the way around that is the classes are recorded so that you can go back and review it, but it isn't the same as being there live with the instructor, because you kind of lose that focus. And that's one of the things that I have found. And it's also a lot easier for me to get distracted by other things if I'm sitting in front of a computer instead of sitting inside a classroom with walls that keep the distractions out.
Oh, yes, I hear you about that. Any of you guys want to add to that? Any technical issues is always a big thing with online classes.
May I add something about the disadvantages? But it's more it's not related to the technical issues, basically. So it's basically related to the relationship with the professors and even with the classmates as well, like in terms of like, and here I'm not talking negatively as much as I'm talking more positively. Like we spent like hours. I mean, basically, if we talk about one specific subject, we talk about so many topics, and we spent hours, an hour or two, for example, talking about one topic. We had a lot of kind of conflicting thoughts and even work. I mean, basically statements and so on and so forth. One of the disadvantages was like actually like afterwards, like we really wanted to kind of like, because of the distance, the geographical distance, we wanted to really like afterwards to just meet and to even to talk further about the topic and say, hey, well, what do you think about this? So this is the very disadvantage, I would say. But the advantages, like one of the advantages for me actually, like because of the time difference, is actually made my life easier. Like, I work at the same time I study. So here in Germany, so kind of like I had evening classes with you, and it was way better, of course, kind of like even had a more organized life, like morning study or working and evening studying. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any other thoughts, response? Okay, so I think you started talking about this here, Marwan. Now, this is a question from a parent in our community. What is the time commitment like? Can a busy parent who works a full-time job also be a student at Zahra?
Totally, sure, of course. I mean, for me, I have 3 children, and my wife start supporting me from day one, actually, and to basically to pursue this study. And I think the key here is more kind of time management, like to know, okay, how many hours I need to, dedicate for work, how many hours I need to dedicate for my children. I remember like where many evenings actually, like I had just 2 minutes before the class, just I had to brush my son's teeth, for example, or put him to sleep, for example. So these kind of things I cannot forget, So no, I mean, I think it's more time management thing, it's more than that. I mean, as I said, I am here in Germany and I'm so blessed, like having 6 hours, time difference. This is great, so I could manage it. If I were in, I mean, if Zahra were in Germany, I think I wouldn't have managed it very well. But here's kind of like States, Germany, this is great. Yeah.
So on average, what's the time commitment you guys look at, to spending for your classes? Sarha, Ginger, Nancy? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. Well, there's the class time, which I believe was 3 hours. Is that right, Sahad? And after that, it's really I felt was up to the student and how much time they wanted to spend on homework. Because I was always asking Sahad for homework because I had this downtime outside of the classroom meeting. So there's a classroom meeting, that's obligation, you show up to that. And then what you do after that really feels like it's student driven. Like how much more time do you want to spend on that?
Would you agree to that here, Ginger?
Yeah, yes, I would agree to that. And if I wanted to go with a kind of a low estimate, it is 3 hours in the class, and then the homework takes a minimum of an hour, but you usually want to spend more time on it than that. So it does take time, but it is back to what Marwan said, it's about time management and how much time you can carve out of your schedule for it.
Definitely agree. All right, so now we, of course, hope our students enjoy their time learning with us. So this next question especially resonates. So what are the top 5 things you like about Zahra Institute? Who would like to begin?
May I start?
Sure.
I have a few actually, like now for the time being, just I think of the approach towards interdisciplinary like study, you know. I mean, I'm talking about master's studies, so we talk about history, we talked about language, we talked about music, and we talked about architecture and so on and so forth. So all these, I mean, this is one of the best things I actually like I've had in this course or in this program. The other thing, actually, I guess Serhat has mentioned that as well. It's kind of like the freedom of speech or the freedom of expression, basically. Like I had an opinion, Serhat had another opinion, so we could talk, and even we could like give our opinions about this thing or that thing and so on. So okay, the freedom of expression, generally speaking, yeah.
There are many things about, Zahra, but one of the most interesting thing for me is, while I mean Zahra is based in the States, but it takes a decolonial perspective, a decolonial, approach. I mean, so it focuses on cultural dignity. So especially for, not only for the Kurds, all colonized nations, especially in the Middle East. That's, a shift point for me because it changed my mind. Because, for example, in Zahra, let's say, for example, when we talk about Middle East, we have a lot of negative thoughts. When we talk about Africa, those kind of concepts which is created by the, colonialists. But in Zahra, well, it's, in America, but it takes, a decolonial approach. So it makes me to think, more broadly. And also the other thing about Zahra is, to be honest, I'm feeling that I'm in a second family. It's a supportive community. So whatever you want, you can ask whatever you want, you can get. So that's really, really interesting.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? All right. So actually, this jumps onto what you had touched on there, Sarhat, which is how do classes at Zahra Institute help me understand the contemporary Middle East more? So,
This is a question for me?
anyone, if you'd like to begin, that's you're welcome.
Okay, Shahreena, look at that. Every single nation in the Middle East is a key to understand the whole region. So Kurdish nation, as one of the most ancient nation in the Middle East, is really important. When you want, to understand the Kurds' history, identity, culture, at the same time, you cannot avoid the history, culture, and identity of the other nations because we are, in related with each other. So Zahra Institute is focused deeply about, I mean, the region, because Zahra is dedicated about I mean, researching on Kurdish studies, and Kurdish nation is located in the Middle East. So when you want to study, to take classes from the Kurdish studies, at the same time you are going to learn from the whole region. Even if you don't, let's say, I mean, if you are not providing, lessons and lecturing, let's say, I mean, directly about the other nations, you'll get in touch with them as well, because we are, I mean, deeply focusing on Kurdish studies. Yeah, to be honest, I mean, in short, if you want to study here, your mind will definitely change about the Middle East.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about this? How does it fit into understanding Middle East more?
Well, similar to what Serhat has just said, basically, like, I mean, just studying about Kurdish history and, for example, the last century, like from 1919 to 2025, for example, just talking about the entire thing. Like here, it is a kind of an opportunity for us to understand more the contemporary Middle East. And by the way, I don't like this term at all, like the Middle East at all, Near East or whatever East, but just to understand that more. But the other thing that I would say, like more kind of about our class itself, like it was an opportunity for us to have more critical thinking and be more objective. And this is something I really learned from this course or from this program, like to not be biased, to not say, well, only my nation or the other nations are not nothing, so kind of like more for me, it's like actually like an opportunity to think critically and to know more what about this very event, for example, what happened and what the repercussions and what my stand in it as an individual or part of a nation. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question regarding Kurdish studies here. So what are, I mean, Sarhat, you're also studying geography and also psychology, you mentioned earlier. And Nancy, you're also pursuing a PhD. Now here with Zahra's different fields of study, what do you think are some good areas of study to combine with Kurdish studies? For instance, and this is a question from one of our community members, I like environmental studies and ecology, but I also like literature and folklore. Do you think Kurdish studies or Kurdish language would be a good fit with that?
Well, I'll go ahead and speak on this question. So my PhD is in anthropology and social change. So there is definitely a connection to Kurdish studies and anthropology. The social change part is looking at activism, how communities are changing the power structures within the hegemonic powers. And then anthropology itself, I mean, it's something that, going back to decolonization, something that needs to be decolonized in general, but it is the study of people, unfortunately, the studying of othering others. So my approach on this is looking at my area of interest in a decolonial lens, decolonizing lens is important, but there is definitely a cross section with anthropology.
Thank you. And it sounds like a number of you are working on research, research projects either within Zahra or out. Now, this question here came from a graduate student who's a prospective student, I think. Can MA students dive into independent or guided research projects early in the program? I think Sarhat, Marwan, I think you guys are doing the MA studies, Kurdish studies program. What's your experience with this?
Would you repeat the question? Sorry.
Sure. It's can MA students dive into independent or guided research projects early in their MA studies program with us?
What do you think, Sarhat?
I think, yeah, maybe, I mean, mixed between them, a mix, guided and also independent. I mean, both of them are uh, because I'm not, I mean, started, I mean, to write my thesis or my capstone. That's why, I don't have, a clearly, idea about that. Maybe Marwan, because I think you've done with your.
No, not threads. Actually, I'm still working on that. I'm doing the research.
Okay.
Well, it depends on the person, like, I mean, well, here it depends on the person and to what extent this can really do it independently or guided. And no doubt, of course, the guide is very important to just like to know to have a roadmap for the study and research and the even talking about the objectives of the research and so on. But at the same time, like for me, to be honest, like this is my second master's, and in this second master's, I have learned a lot from the professors and the instructors. And over these 2 years, I've learned a lot, and I think this is something actually I've taken, and now I mean, and I'm using that actually, like in terms of like even talking about the the format or the content of and how we write and how we have the structure of the text and so on and so forth. So here again, like just back to the very beginning, it depends on the person, and what the purpose of this person is having in the end of the day. Like, okay, what's the purpose or what's the objective they have after finishing my master's or after finishing my studies? Yeah.
So it sounds like here that both of you agree that it's possible, right, to start earlier on, and it depends on the person and their motivation.
Sure.
Okay. So, okay, I mentioned, I think earlier on that we also offer MA and certificate program in critical Muslim studies. So this next question here came from someone who's interested to know a little bit more about that, which is, are students able to combine Kurdish studies with critical Muslim studies or pursue certificates alongside the MA?
Yes, absolutely, Shahreena, because I have an experience. Last semester, I was taking a class in critical Muslim studies, named Critical Muslim Studies Approaches. To be honest, it blown my mind because I mean the instructor was really knowledgeable, and he is teaching at one of the great university in America, and also to be honest, sometimes while I mean Kurdish study is a part Kurdish I mean is a Kurdish as a nation is a part of Islamic world, so there are Muslims. So yeah, you can do I mean, as we say in Kurdish, we have a saying: you can kill one bird with two birds with one stone. Yeah, you can do your master's degree in Kurdish studies, and besides that, taking a certificate in critical Muslim studies, and it's just like you can equip and enrich your MA in Kurdish studies when you are taking some classes in critical Muslim studies.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that we do have cross-program courses. I think Sarhat touched on that you can be an MA student in Kurdish studies and still take classes in the critical Muslim studies. I also like to add that Sarhat, you've heard him talking about teaching, and Nancy mentioned that he also teaches. He's a TA, so he's also doing a work study to cover tuition, and we do have work studies to cover tuition for qualified people like Sarhat. All right, and I think that's I'd like to give you guys a chance too, if you guys would like to add anything to this discussion before we can move on to the Q&A. All right, so Yeah, I'd like to take a moment here to thank you, everyone, for your thoughtful responses. We truly appreciate you, your time, and all of our students. I now invite the audience, if you haven't had a chance to do so, to enter your question or questions in the chat box. In the meantime, for members of the audience and prospective students interested to learn more about Zahra Institute's MA certificate programs in Kurdish Studies and Critical Muslim Studies, please check out our website at www.zahrainstitute.org. You can also email us at info@zahrainstitute.org. And with that, let me take a look here at our chat box to read your questions and comments and begin the Q&A portion of this event. And if you would prefer, you may also raise your hand too to ask your questions directly to the panelists. So give me a moment here and I'll check this out. All right, Bruce had mentioned here, Nancy and Ginger. He was happy that he could teach a Ginger spring fall of 2025. And then, okay, Sardar asked about the online, online the only option, or is there a class with instructor option as well? Currently it's online only. And I think Rachel answered the question about fees of online courses, which is $1,695 for a 3-credit class, but financial aid is available and generous. Are all students native from Kurdistan? Are all instructors native from Kurdistan? No, not necessarily. We do have instructors that are experts in the field who are not native Kurd. We do have instructors as well who are native from Kurdistan. So we do have a mix of instructors, diverse instructor body and student body as well, as you can see here. And sometimes the local dialect, okay, Sardar, had commented that sometimes the local dialect seems like a different language if you are not familiar with the region. Very true, like Haurami and Sorani. Okay, Heather Sweetser is asking, how many hours a week do you spend studying Kurdish, both in class and alone doing homework? I think Ginger, you had mentioned, you had answered that it's 3 hours for the in-class, the live portion of the class. And then beyond that, it's 1 hour minimum. Of course, that depends on the students too and their time availability. Are there any additional questions? Please raise hands if you would like to add and ask them directly. Just giving here a moment. Okay. It looks. Oh, Ardalan, it looks like you have a question. Please ask your question. Ardalan, you are currently muted. Please unmute.
You guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to thank everybody, possible Hamutan, the students, and regarding to the hospitality in Suleimani, generally speaking, I just want to add this as just a comment. Kurds are generally very generous about hospitality to the guests. It's not only Suleimani. Even I'm from Suleimani. I grew up for 39 years, so lived there for 39 years. So just regarding to the differences, dialect, Suleimani and Arbil, they both Sorani, as Mustafa had mentioned. But you can't tell if people from Arbil or from Suleimani right away. If I go to Arbil, Hawliya, say Basaqa, people right away know I'm from Suleimani by term of Basaqa, which is mean deer. And the same thing for Hawliya too. They have we have different terminologies, but if people from origin there, they can understand. And the main differences in that region is between Haurami and a Sorani dialect, which is personally I do not understand any Haurami, even Hauraman, part of Suleimani. That's all I want to add that comment only. Thank you. Spas.
All right. Any others? Okay, if not, I think that concludes our Q&A. If you want to rewatch the panel, a video recording should be available on Zahra Institute's YouTube and Facebook page within a few days. Our fall semester classes, it's coming up soon, starts on Wednesday, September 3rd, which is also the same day our speaker series launches. Please follow us on YouTube and social media such as Facebook, X, IG, and LinkedIn for further updates. So Zorspas, thank you for your support and attendance. Thank you all to the panelists. And you'll see you again in September. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Hafiz.